Now, a personal problem that no one likes to talk about, and we're going to talk about it again. It's bad breath. Is someone you know an offender, or do you yourself worry about getting too close? Well, modern science has come to the rescue, discovering the usual source of this sensitive problem and a way to treat it. Dr. Timothy Johnson's report could help you escape an uncomfortable encounter.
Bad breath. Millions of Americans suffer from it, or at least think they do. The sale of breath mints, gum, mouthwashes, and toothpaste that promise us cleaner, fresher breath has grown to be more than a $500 million a year industry. And for those afflicted, it's a nightmare.
It was something I thought about from morning to night, and it just really made me feel uncomfortable.
I was always wondering, are they smelling something about me and reacting in some way that I don't even know?
Beware of the backward step.
But today, there is new hope on the horizon. New products, new treatments, even new ways of measuring bad breath. And along with that, bad breath entrepreneurs are emerging, complete with ads on the internet and fresh breath and anti-halitosis clinics springing up across the country.
Good afternoon, the Fresh Breath Center of the Palm Beaches.
And it's not just we Americans who seem obsessed with cleaner breath. Just recently, in this picturesque town in Belgium, some 130 scientists gathered for a 2-day international workshop on what researchers are now calling oral malodor.
We think the future does not stink.
Some came to listen to the latest research.
All organoleptic scores correlated strongly.
Others to sell their wares.
This is my new invention. It's called toothbrush and tongue scraper, 2-in-1.
And some came to ask questions.
How were those diagnoses that you listed reached?
Periodontist Dr. John Richter attended from Philadelphia. Dr. Richter has the distinction of having opened the first clinic in the United States for the treatment of bad breath.
The reaction was initially very skeptical.
But since then, Dr. Richter has treated over 3,000 patients, and he claims a 98% success rate. Two of his successes are Tom Bale and Patty Zietz.
As long as I could remember, my father always called me Buffalo Breath. That was my nickname.
From as far back as you can remember?
First grade's the youngest I can remember, that people would back away.
For Tom Bale, it was his wife Barbara who let him know.
It's like graphic in my mind. Barbara would go, "Oh, your breath." She also wouldn't look at me.
Yeah, frequently. I would have to turn away just
kind of a reflexive
I felt
reaction.
Like I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was very overpowering.
Of course, nearly everybody gets occasional bad breath, usually associated with eating certain foods or smoking, having a cold, or dry mouth, as in morning breath. But for some as yet unknown reason, some people have it almost all of the time. Just what then causes chronic bad breath? Well, most bad breath is produced by a type of bacteria in the backs of our mouths, particularly on the back of our tongues, bacteria that thrive on lack of oxygen. These bacteria are usually washed away by saliva, but when they're not, they can actually form a kind of tongue plaque, producing foul-smelling gases called volatile sulfur compounds. That's what we call bad breath or halitosis.
You see the dentist regularly?
Yes.
Lisa is a new patient who has come to have her breath assessed. Much of that is done with a device called a halimeter.
We compare the mouth air with the nasal air with the lung air.
Open your mouth. Say ah. Ah.
We actually do some sniffing of the various air samples.
One reason this sniffing procedure is done is because a large percentage of people who think they have bad breath actually don't.
What about a person's own assessment of their breath, trying to smell it or taste it or feel it somehow?
It's impossible, and that's been demonstrated dozens of times in dozens of different studies. The best way to tell whether somebody has bad breath, if you want a yes or no answer, is to smell their breath. You don't need a light meter to tell if it's daylight outside. All right, now I'm going to tell you what I found. You do have a breath odor right now.
Like most people, Lisa's bad breath is coming from her mouth, and particularly from her tongue.
Well, if a patient has the typical back of the tongue problem, what we do is remove the bacteria from the back of the tongue and from the entire mouth. We use a little spray device to do that. That's what causes bad breath right there. Okay.
The spray Dr. Richter is using to clean Lisa's tongue contains a chemical called chlorine dioxide. Chlorine dioxide is a very powerful oxidizing agent. It's used to deodorize waste management sites. It's also used in water purification because of its antibacterial properties.
It's very non-toxic, It has the ability to dissolve in plaque, or patient gets an instantaneous result.
Lisa certainly did.
Big difference.
When I came home from the first treatment, and Barbara said, I don't smell anything. And I thought, it's working.
How would you describe the difference? Night and day, 100%, et cetera?
Oh, absolutely. But all the above. 100% night and day. I mean, there's a sweetness to his breath now.
No distractions.
No distractions.
Yeah.
Right after her first treatment, Patty Zietz ran over to her fiancé's house.
And I said, look at my tongue. I don't have a white coating on it anymore. And I said, smell my breath.
Could you tell a difference in her breath? That right after that first time she tried the kit?
It's like cured it.
It was like a miracle. I said, I'm so excited because now I can hug everybody at my wedding and they're not going to say, oh, the bride was beautiful, but she had some bad breath.
Of course, this one-time treatment is not enough to keep bad breath from recurring. To prevent that, Dr. Richter dispenses a special home care kit which includes the chlorine dioxide mouth rinse he manufactures called ProFresh. Using the kit twice a day seems to keep the bad breath under control.
I start out and brush everything in my mouth, the gums, the palate, the tongue, and then I go from that to a special little tongue comb.
This tongue comb, or tongue scraper as it's commonly called, is a critical part of the home regimen.
You have to go way back because it's mostly in the back of your tongue. And then I end up flossing and using another mouthful of this mouthwash. And all of the bacteria are killed, at least for a while.
But what about other approaches to bad breath?
I have the revolutionary solution. Breath Assure.
Breath Assure, an increasingly popular product, claims to get rid of bad breath naturally by working down in the digestive system. But experts say while it may be of some benefit for temporary food odors, for chronic bad breath sufferers, that's usually not the problem.
Breath odor almost never originates in the gastrointestinal tract, which is where this product claims it works.
Why, Dad, germs can cause bad breath, and Listerine kills them dead.
And what about all the commercial mouth rinses and sprays that are available over the counter? Well, Consumer Reports tested most of the leading ones a few years ago. Although products like Listerine did reduce plaque, all the products lost their breath freshening effect anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour after use. The ADA is concerned over the emerging hoopla over bad breath products and expensive bad breath treatments, especially when certain products, like a line known as OxyFresh, are being heavily promoted to turn dentists into bad breath millionaires, promising them huge commissions for recommending the products to patients and to other dentists.
Many of these products are being promoted as not just curing bad breath, but curing gum disease and other things, and quite honestly, I'm embarrassed by that. In fact, one of these companies was asked not to promote their product on the floor of the American Dental Association exhibitors unless they changed what they said the product will do. They were claiming too much.
Dr. Price recommends a more conservative approach to the treatment of bad breath.
The critical element is the tongue scraping, as far as you're
concerned. From my point of view, yes.
So any old tongue scraper that works for you, as long as you can do it and get rid of the gunk in the back of your tongue, is good enough.
Yes, it will. It should work for you, yes.
So, after all is said and done, the good news is that by relatively simple means, whether through tongue scraping alone or tongue scraping combined with one of these rinses, there is real hope of radically changing the lives of people who used to cringe over getting too close.
Like when I'm talking right now, I don't have to worry like I'm stinking up the room here.
I mean, it's easier to be as close as we are right now.
I'm not wondering when she's going to notice something that's undesirable about me. And that makes a big difference.
Oh, that's remarkable. So are tongue scrapers the key to avoiding bad breath?
That's what everybody kept telling us, and you can use anything like a spoon even in the home, but there are devices now appearing on the market. Here's one you kind of bend and just put in your mouth and scrape, and then there are all these more rigid varieties, different colors and shapes, but they all have a little ridge on them, so you can scrape your tongue. And I think that is the key, to do that faithfully, in many cases twice a day.
What about some people believe that gum disease has something to do with bad...
Well, it used to be thought that that was the primary cause, and it certainly can be a cause, but usually not as common as the tongue problem. Obviously, if you do have gum disease, you should have it fixed and addressed, and that should help the problem, but it's really the tongue that's the key in most cases.
In most cases of bad breath.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Thank you, Tim.
Okay.